This screencast will be focusing on the topic of character design, drawing light on the basics and some of the contrasts and stereotypes associated with it. If you want to create a successful character, there are a few principles you should follow. You should recognise a character's limitations before designing and compromise accordingly, remembering that form follows function. For example, Mr. Tickle uses extremely long arms to tickle whoever he can get his hands on. Without the length of these arms, he would be unable to do this. Also, a well-designed character should have an easily readable silhouette. Pinky in the Brain silhouettes are immediately recognisable through the character's body structure and posture, proving form is just as important in characterisation as surface detail. This next slide shows some of the features of well-designed characters. It is important that they depict a sense of interest and appeal, otherwise the audience will grow bored of the character. When I say appealing, I don't necessarily mean liked, as many cartoon villains are often appealing to. The roles of villain and victim should be clearly established. In some cartoons they are portrayed by natural antagonists, such as Tom and Jerry and the Wolf and the Hare, but this doesn't always mean that the audience connects with the victim more than the villain. For example, viewers seem to root for and sympathise with Wile E. Coyote for his failed attempts at catching the Roadrunner, as the next video extract will illustrate. Moving on to the main focus of this screencast, which is contrasting characterizations within animation. Movement, expression and body language are key aspects in distinguishing a character, as they help define their own identity. Even small mannerisms and traits can develop into that particular character's trademark. For instance, in Johnny Bravo's case, he seems to tense, flex and grunt every time he sees a female. This habit has become so distinctive that the movements themselves are instantly associated with him. How a character moves works in a different way though, often giving an insight into their persona. Without getting to know the characters, their personality is instantly projected through their movements. For example, the crazy manner in which Taz moves around reflects his aggressive, short-tempered nature. In contrast to this, the slow, moping around fashion in which Droopy the dog moves around replicates his gloomy, depressed personality. The upcoming film extract will demonstrate these character contrasts.
Hello, all you happy people. You know what? I'm the hero.
Human babies are generally considered cute, but that doesn't necessarily mean the young of other creatures are as well. So in animation, as a solution to this, non-human baby characters are usually designed with aspects that closely resemble the small delicate features of a human infant, which the audience will find more appealing as it provides a sense of familiarity and relation. This links in with the term anthropomorphism, which involves giving non-human subjects humanized characteristics. Take Nemo for example, a clownfish that has been designed with babyish proportions, such as a dominantly large head with scented eyes that display their whites, a trait that's not normally associated with fish. This contrasts with the rest of Nemo's body and allows the character to uphold a sense of humanity without actually being human. Beauty is portrayed differently depending on a particular time period or era, due to such factors as current trends, political correctness, culture or location. Trends are constantly evolving though, and so will the depiction of beauty as a result. This change in the interpretation of beauty is clearly evident in the contrast between the characterization of the Disney princesses of 1937 to 1959 and 1987 to 2009. The earlier princesses are weak-minded, passive and innocent, as well as all being, quite noticeably, Caucasian, which contrasts with the modern-day princesses, who are stubborn, independent, natural leaders from a range of ethnic backgrounds, which probably represents the multicultural society of the Western world and women's position in society today. Beauty can also be defined using William Hogarth's The Line of Beauty theory, as it suggests that the serpentine curved lines of the body structure signify liveliness and activity, which excite the attention of the viewer as contrasted with straight lines that signify stasis and death, which the viewers tend to look past. To demonstrate this principle, I have gathered a few examples. Betty Boop and Jessica Rabbit are clear illustrations of the S-shaped curve, contrasted with the straight body structure of Maleficent and the jagged lines that make up her clothing, which give her that typical villain appearance. The eyes move at different speeds when looking at these curves, which allow the designer to manipulate where the viewer's attention wanders and how long it stays at that one point, as we generally find curves more appealing. Female characters are easy to read in Disney productions, as they are either pretty and therefore a good role, or ugly and therefore a bad role. In productions by Studio Ghibli, however, this plan is not apparent. Characters can have an ugly exterior without necessarily reflecting their persona. As you can probably tell by the two examples below, both the characters are not nice to look at, but a woman can be old and wrinkly with a gigantic nose and a wart and still be a wonderful human being. For example, Sophie from Howl's Moving Castle, which is in contrast to the witch from Snow White, whose twisted personality matches her hideous and poisonous exterior. This fits into a large principle in Ghibli movies, in that they usually do not have a clearly established villain, or the characters that we initially think to be villains turn out not to be. In a Disney movie, there is always a villain, which is usually effortlessly distinguished by their looks. Which leads me to the next point, that involves misunderstood characters. Characters that are initially judged by their physical flaws rather than their strong positive personalities. The audience believe this to be unappealing and label them monsters due to their physical disfigurement. Which contradicts my last point about Disney's predictable characterizations in a sense, but in this case the audience learn to like the characters and sympathise with them as the story unfolds. A great example of the contrast between interior and exterior is Quasimodo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, whose brave, generous actions appeal to the audience as he reveals human depth from underneath a deformed face. The next film extract will justify my point.
Good morning. Will today be the day? Are you ready to fly? You sure? Good day to try.